Okay. We'll get started, okay? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 25th, 2025 regular council meeting for the Village of Lytton. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone to please turn off your video, mute your microphones to allow council to begin the proceedings. And just to let you know, we're all being recorded and broadcasted on the Village of Lytton YouTube channel. If anyone is looking for a video recording of this meeting or past meetings, you can go to the Village YouTube channel and watch it there. Thank you, Your Worship, and you may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. I want to begin by recognizing that we're meeting here in the Village of Lytton on the lands of the Entlegatten people. Here in the hall tonight, we have all of council, and in accordance with our council procedure bylaw, Kathy Walters is with us as Deputy Corporate Officer. And we have our CAO, Diane Maubriquette, moderating the meeting tonight. So we'll begin with adoption of the agenda, and we do have one late item. We have a report to council regarding a sewer contract. I'm looking for a decision there. So can I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Lightfoot, seconder. Toss. All those in favor? And carried. Now we move on to adoption of the minutes of the last council meeting of March 11th. We need a motion.
I'll move that they be adopted as presented.
Thank you. A seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Carried. And I forgot to ask if there's any errors or omissions, but I'm assuming there are none. Okay, we'll move on to, well, we have no delegations tonight. We'll move on to public comment, and I'm going to turn it back over to CAO Maubriquette.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. If any members of the public are now invited to comment on matters related to the agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find that by clicking on React at the bottom of your screen and then clicking raise hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and we will ask you to unmute yourself. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to please state and spell your name, say your address, and the agenda item number that you are speaking to. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. I don't see any hands. We'll call for the second time. If anybody would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. And for a third time, if anybody would like to speak, please use the raise hand function. Mayor O'Connor, it doesn't look like there is anyone. Is there anyone in the parish hall who wishes to speak?
I don't believe so. No, not this evening. So thank you. All right, we'll move right on to item number 8, which is staff reports. And we have a report to council regarding the capital projects update. Diane.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. This is our monthly report that we've started doing on the capital projects that are underway. The village is currently working on 6 different projects, and this report attempts to sort of summarize the recent activity and identify the next steps for each one of the projects. So I'll just go through them. The community hub, which is planned for 320 400 to 400 Fraser Street. The recent activity, we've had quite a bit of activity on this project. At our council meeting two meetings ago, council approved to proceed with the community hub project. We signed our contribution agreement with Canada. We have a cultural advisor role that has been advertised. The posting closes today. We've issued the RFP for the architect that's been posted on BC Bid. And we did receive a determination letter from Environment Assessment and Indigenous Consultation Canada that all the consultation requirements have been met. So our next steps on the community hub will be to evaluate the proposals from the architects, and the closing for that posting is April the 16th. So then the next project is the fire hall, proposed for up on Loring Way. So this is the one we're just at the beginning of the GICB application process. We've hired architects to prepare a concept plan, and we have a meeting this week to review that draft plan. We have started the GICB application process, and we have support letters from local partners for that project. Their next steps on that will be the ongoing consultation with local First Nations and the community, and we will complete and submit the application for GICB funding, including a Class D estimate for the project. The village office is the next one. That's planned for 380 Main Street. So we reported last month that we had completed the purchase of the land and that we had, and now we have selected an architect, Shauna Noyes, and she conducted a design workshop with council to start planning for that building. Our next steps on that will be well, this sentence is poorly worded. An archaeology assessment and work plan will be completed for the anticipated footings for the building, and we will issue an RFP for a construction company once the design is completed. The Public Works Building planned for 14/30 Main Street. Council has approved a contract increase to accommodate some of the site conditions that we ran into there. Our next steps are the archaeologist has prepared and has submitted a work plan to the technical working group. So we're waiting for that group to have a chance to review that and hopefully provide endorsement to the ARC branch for that work plan. And then we can begin the site preparation. On the water upgrades, we continue to work on the projects that had been previously approved through both council and the UBCM. At our last meeting, we presented a reprofiling of that grant, which was approved by council and has been submitted to UBCM for their approval. They have not finalized that yet, but they've indicated that they don't see any issues. We're still waiting for the capital reinvestment plan from the consultant to complete that reprofile. We're also working on a pre-qualification process for design engineers so that so we can go through a process once to select probably 3 engineering firms that will then be available to do work for us as we work our way through each one of these individual projects. And then we'll prepare, they will prepare the design for the repairs and we'll RFP for contractors. On the sewer upgrades, we had posted an RFP on BC Bid for the River Road contractor. That's the replacement of the main that goes down River Road. That bid closed on March 19th, and we have just added that as a late agenda item for council to consider a contract for that work. And again, the pre-qualification process that I described earlier would apply for the sewer upgrades as well and selecting contractors. And then we're working on completing a prioritized list of the system repairs that we will then present to this council, LFN council, and operations staff.
Great.
And those are my comments.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate, I think we all do, but I just want to say how much I appreciate having this report once a month, these updates, and as well the simplicity and the readability of the document that comes along with it. So questions and comments, Councillor McCann?
Just one comment on the community hub. You mentioned it, but it didn't move other than in words. So under next steps, the cultural advisor, there needs to be something there because the next step for the cultural advisor is to finalize and hire or do something, right? So I'll let you decide what words need to go there, but it seems like that's the next step as well.
Okay, great. I'll add that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor, any other questions or comments? No? So we need a motion to receive this report for information. Councillor Lightfoot, second. Toss, and all those in favor? Carried. Great, thank you. Well, we have another report from you, Diane. The next one is the monthly report, which is another monthly reporting, but this one's regarding the BC province BC contribution agreement.
That's right. This is our standard monthly report on we're seeking reimbursement from EMCR under our contribution agreement with them. We bring this report to council first, and once they have approved it, we submit it to EMCR for reimbursement. These are the costs that were incurred in February of 2025. The report on the second page outlines each one of the sections that the agreement is broken up into. So it has a site readiness budget, of 9.8 million. In this period, we're only claiming 27,000 against that budget, but we've spent 6.9 million of it to date. The Public Works building budget of $1 million, we are claiming this period $7,499. We've only claimed 91,000 to date. And the recovery support, this is primarily our recovery staffing budget of $3.5 million. This period, the claim is for 57,000. Total to date is $1,001,000. And then we have a fourth category, housing for essential services budget of 3.1 million. We haven't spent any of that budget yet. So we're looking for approval to submit this report to AMCR for reimbursement for a total of 92,823.
Thank you. So we need a motion to accept this report. Thank you, Councillor McCann, seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Lightfoot.
I'm just curious what the Legacy Pro
mentioned
reimburse or
negative.
Yeah, we had,
received money?
yeah, we had previously claimed under this agreement from another contractor for the purchase of lock blocks, and then we sold some of them to Legacy Pro. So I had to reflect the amount of money that we received from Legacy for the sale of those lock blocks.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other questions? Councillor Toss?
Yeah, just wondering, thank you, Mayor O'Connor. The Tranix Consulting, was that some further soil testing for one of our projects?
That was actually some old invoices that we had been going back and forth with them on that had some storage charges that we were disputing, and we had finally come to an agreement on what the appropriate amount was. So those relate back to probably early 2024.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? So all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we move on to the 5-year draft financial plan, and back over to you, Diane.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. This report is seeking approval for the draft financial plan and direction to prepare the bylaws that come after this. So as council is aware, they're required to approve a tax rate bylaw prior to May the 15th. Prior to the tax rate bylaw, we need to approve a 5-year financial plan bylaw. So when we've set out our calendar and kind of backed up all those dates, the first 3 readings of the financial plan bylaw is anticipated to come to council on April the 8th, which will be the next meeting. And so this is just a draft of that plan and looking for approval for that. So as attachment A to this report is the actual schedule that goes in the 5-year financial plan bylaw. And it's the same format that we've used for a number of years now. So the comparables, when we look at it year over year, we can do that. It extends out 5 years as 5-year financial plan. So for the 2025, it's our budget that we use to calculate our property taxes from. And then the next 4 years are essentially percentage increases that get applied to the expenses. And then on the revenue side, same thing, we apply a percentage increase to the tax revenues and adjust any of the other revenues for any information that we have, particularly with respect to grants. So if you look at the 2025 budget compared to the 2024 budget, we have incorporated, as previously discussed, a 6% increase in property tax revenue. The government transfers, although it looks like they're increasing a lot, part of that has to do with the way the accounting works for the recovery operational grant. So in 2024, we had a $700,000 operational recovery grant. In 2025, that goes up to $1,050,000. That will also continue for 2026 as well. We do have, the sale of services are so the fees and charges for water and sewer and any other, fire service recoveries or building and planning permit fees or anything like that. Investment income, we do anticipate we will have pretty substantial investment income over the next year at least, but we will see that fall off in the future. And that's a result of the grant revenues that had been received from various levels of government that haven't been spent yet, but they are sitting in reserves or deferred revenue with specific expenditures for the future to come. And then the 2025 other amount on the revenue side, it reflects insurance proceeds that we are intending to spend. And so you may remember, I think it was 2 meetings ago, we did approve for the fire department to replace some of their equipment out of insurance revenue that had been received. That insurance revenue is sitting in a reserve. We transfer the amount we're going to spend into revenue, and then the expenses get matched against that. So that's kind of the quick synopsis on the revenue side. On the expense side, um, most of the categories are the same. The one category that we're still really working through is public works, water, and sewer as it relates to salaries. So it's been a bit difficult to determine with certainty how much percentage of the employee's time is spent in each one of those categories because there's been repairs in there that wouldn't normally happen. So if you look at the time that was spent in 2024, there was more time spent on water than would maybe typically be the case because we were doing a lot of repairs in order to get people connected to the system. So we're going to continue to try to track those numbers and see if we can gain a bit more confidence. Right now, the Public Works Department is spending approximately 46% of their time on water. And so that's a pretty large percentage when they also are responsible for sewer and public works as well. So we're going to look a little closer at that. At this time, we've kept it consistent with what the 2024 numbers had shown us. Other than that, the expenses year over year are fairly similar. And then just the final thing at the very end of the report and at the bottom of the schedule, in 2025, we are anticipating a surplus of $336,000. That's primarily generated because of the recovery operational revenue that's been received. In the future, that will flip the other way and will be a deficit, and we will be looking for additional ways to address that. Final comment I'll make is we did have a public engagement session on February the 26th and an online consultation period that went from February the 26th until March the 12th. We did receive one comment this year from a resident who requested that we include in our budget some funding for fire smarting within the village. For 2025, we have an agreement with LFN under that large Fire Smart grant that we co-applied with them for. You may remember that was a while ago now, but it was a 2-year grant. And the amount in 2025 that was initially earmarked for a Fire Smart coordinator is going to be redirected into Fire Smart activities within the village and in the surrounding area, LFN as well. So for 2025, I don't think we need to dedicate a resource. That would be something that if council is interested in the future in a dedicated resource, we'll have to look at how we're going to fund that, because I don't think it's reasonable to think that the public works team is going to be able to do that on top of the work that they already do when it's a 2-person department.
All right, thank you for that report. And again, I appreciate the written report, the way you have laid it out so clearly with your bullets underneath explaining the charts, and then to hear it verbally here. Any questions or comments? Councillor Lightfoot.
I guess the only comment I have to make is looking at these numbers, it seems that we need to really promote rebuilding so we can generate more revenue through business and residential, and try to explore how we can somehow generate through our service provision or other means a higher revenue. But it's good to see it, and it's well laid out so we know what the challenge is before us.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So can you explain, just remind us what the next step then in the budget process is?
Yes, for sure. So on April the 8th, we will come with a report with recommending first three readings of the financial plan bylaw. So it will essentially be a bylaw with this schedule attached. And so that would be the first three readings on April the 8th. Then on April the 22nd, we would be looking for adoption of the 5-year financial plan bylaw and the first three readings of the tax rate bylaw. And then the tax rate bylaw will be adopted on, I think our meeting it now is May the 13th. We've talked about maybe scheduling a special meeting a bit earlier to adopt the tax rate bylaw, just to make sure we're not right up against it has to be adopted before the 15th. So doing it 2 days before makes me a little bit nervous. So we might try to schedule a special meeting in there. The other piece that we're waiting for is the final assessment roll from BC Assessment. It should be available any day now. It impacts more kind of who pays the taxes. The number is still the same in total, but we need the final assessment values to make those calculations.
Okay, thank you. So we have a two-part motion here, and Councillor Toss, seconder.
I was asking a question.
Oh, you were asking a question.
I'll move
Okay.
it.
So,
I'll move it.
okay, we'll move it and then we'll ask a question. Seconder, Councillor Light, but now a question, sorry.
This is a bit of an awkward question always, but I'm wondering how the hub projections will fit into this, as they probably will materialize prior to 2029 in our 5-year plan.
And I think once we get further along with the hub programming, once it's decided kind of what's going to be in the building, how it's going to operate, is it a year-round pool, a seasonal pool, all those types of things, we will do a financial projection relating to just the hub. And at that time, we'll bring it back as an amendment to this 5-year plan. I didn't include anything in this plan related to the hub because it's just too early at this point. And I don't have enough information, but as soon as we get a bit further down the road on that one, we will be, and I've done some preliminary financial projections for it, but just a bunch, if that, there's a lot of scenarios right now. It's not really possible to incorporate into a bylaw.
So if I understand it correctly, every year we come out with the new 5-year plan. So in next year's.
We come out with it every year and we can amend it at any time. So when we get during the year, if we get more information about something, we can amend the plan. And we did do that last year. I think we did 3 amendments. You might notice on the schedule that's attached, the very first column says 2024 financial plan 3.0.
Right.
And that's because it was the third one, because we did make some amendments last year. And I would say probably with certainty we'll make amendments this year as well. I don't know what they'll be, but
Thank you. That's great.
you're welcome.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Only just along with that. So I would assume that the hub would get special attention, the fire hall would get special attention, anything that may add to expenses or income would find its way into this as well.
That's correct.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Now we move on to correspondence, and we do have a letter from the TNRD regarding a municipal yard waste cleanup day. And we are asking for a motion to receive it and to refer it to staff. So Councillor Tross, seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any comments on it? Just what? Sorry,
I
Councillor.
think historically we have done yard debris pickup with the village staff, and in the last couple of years, Lytton First Nation has assisted. So I'm not sure when a good date would be. Perhaps around the cemetery cleanup weekend, which is April the 12th, but I'd like staff to work to see if they can identify a date that works for other obligations they have, and make that available to our community.
Okay, good.
That's good.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. The minutes of the Hub PAC Project Advisory Committee from February. I think we're catching up on our minutes here. So we do have a report that council received those minutes, or sorry, a motion to have council receive those minutes. So moved. Toss, seconder.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And all those in favor?
You ask questions?
Of February 18th, sure.
I had a question about the minutes being that there was, I guess, one planned for March. Was there one in March 9th, 10th then as well?
There was one.
We,
Between
and I
then and
believe,
now?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when I'm reading the minutes, I would just want to be on the record as having concerns about still having the indoor pool as on the table or up for discussion when it doesn't appear to be financially at all within our ability to pull off. So I just have concerns that we're spending time talking about something that perhaps is completely impossible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, so we move to verbal reports. And
Do you want to do your amended?
no, it comes at item number 12.
Oh,
After
okay.
the reports, yeah. Okay, so I don't know why I have such few things listed because I've been extremely busy. March 13th, I attended a Gold Country meeting via Zoom. Those meetings are about once a month. And I did ask them when they were thinking of coming down and presenting as a delegation to council. And they said it won't be, I think they said April or May they're looking at. So we look forward to them coming down to present to us. March 18th, I attended an in-person workshop here. It was referred to earlier, along with the rest of council, with the architect who will be designing the new village office building. And I have to say it was an excellent day. March 19th, I had a Zoom interview with the Rural Health Network regarding health effects of disasters. They had a whole list of questions here. And of course, it took me back to 4 years ago after the disaster. And then, as I said, many questions.
What's the intention of that?
It was a group doing research for the Rural Health Network. And I think they're an advocacy group around health.
Oh, yeah.
So you Google the Rural Health Network. Yeah. March 24th, coffee with the mayor here. It was really nice to meet the family that purchased property in the village and plans to move to Lytton and set up a business. So that was really nice. And this morning, just another very productive in-person council to council gathering with Lytton First Nation. So that was great to participate in that. That's it for my report. We'll move on to Councilor Toss. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I don't have much to report. I attended, I think, all of the events that Mayor O'Connor alluded to, and I too, and very much thought the gathering with LFN was a really good meeting, gathering. And yeah, moving into my new house and enjoying the village, and nothing much to report. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilor McCann?
Well, thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I attended a few events and activities. On the 17th and the 24th, I came across for the coffee with the mayor. And on the 13th, I went out to the village office at the invitation of Brian Baxter and got to see and learn about the trailer, the emergency services trailer, and what's in it and how to use the apparatus and the materials that are in it, and a little bit of demonstration of what works and what doesn't work. And I know for sure I could never put up one of those cots. I just know it. And so it was really interesting, and it helped me to understand a lot more. I'll add more information about that, but it was I think it was unfortunate that more people weren't able to go, but it kind of helps to identify the importance of more people continuously being included in that whole emergency services network, and that we need people not just from council but from our community involved in that. The 18th, I as well enjoyed the workshop here with the architect, and on the 19th, Jess and I went to the Fire Smart Committee meeting. That was a pretty busy meeting. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, the two councils together today. So working with Brian and Kathy on how to use and, yes, the emergency services mobile unit helped me appreciate the complexity of actions required when responding to emergencies and providing assistance to those who need it. I look forward to the planned events later this spring that will boost my personal skill level and understanding of delivering emergency services and the role of the village in that service delivery. I have to confess that until I got involved in the Village of Lytton, I had no idea that the Village of Lytton had anything to do with emergency services, just not on my radar. So it's, I've been learning all about this stuff I didn't know was there. The Fire Smart Committee has asked for and been approved the use of funds for a fuel management team that can dedicate time to areas identified as concerning for fuel accumulation this spring and summer. So that was good news from that meeting. In addition, at the Fire Smart meeting, we heard about a spring work bee with the St. Agnes Scouts on the weekend of April 12th and 13th. And that project includes a Fire Smart home assessment, cemetery cleanup, and a variety of other fuel management projects. So we're kind of all about, let's do spring cleanup around here, right? Yeah, that's my report. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Michelle.
Nothing additional to report.
Thank you. And Councillor Lightfoot.
I attended all the workshops that the rest of the council was involved in, and there were a couple of things from Fire Smart that perhaps I'll add. One is that they had, they usually have a spring workshop information session that they had thought they would schedule at the beginning of April, but because of other obligations, that will be moved till the end of April. We're looking at the 30th, but it's not confirmed. It will be advertised once it is. And they're also talking about having a local person do a small engines workshop so that people can repair their weed eaters and other mechanical brushing devices that they maybe are wanting to toss and buy a new one, and maybe they can just repair it. So that also will be advertised once a date set for that.
Thank you. All right, we move on to item number 12, which is other business. And this is where we've added in our amendment to the agenda, where we have a report to council regarding the contract award for sewer project. And I'm going to turn it over to CAO Marquette for this.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. And I apologize for this being a late item and kind of just getting it out today. We did have an RFP process that just closed on March the 19th, and we are anxious to get moving with this project. We've been talking about this one for a while. This is the sewer main that goes down River Road, and there is there's a belief that is perhaps is collapsed and could stop functioning altogether, which would be fairly catastrophic to the system. So we're anxious to get in there and get it replaced before we have any major issues. So, we had worked with AC Eagle Engineering to do a design for the replacement of this section of the sewer main, which was then attached to an RFP that was posted on BC Bid on February the 27th. So we gave contractors 3 weeks to respond. That does seem to be like it was enough time because we had 9 very good quality responses to the RFP. We had a committee set up of myself, the municipal engineer, our senior water operator, and an experienced water sewer contract administrator who assisted us with the evaluations. And we all scored the proposals based on some predetermined criteria. And then we looked at the pricing of the different proposals. We had set a system where we targeted sort of the second lowest as our kind of ideal price, second to the lowest, and then everybody who all the other proponents, as they moved away from that price, they got less points on the pricing side of it. So in the end, we ended up with a conclusion that everybody on the committee agreed with, that Rock Solid Inc. would be Rock Solid Industries Inc. would be our recommendation for a contractor for this work. We do we did have some on the committee. We did have some understanding of some of the projects that this company has done, so they're not completely unknown to everybody in the group. And we're looking for approval to move forward on final negotiation on the contract with them, and then for the mayor and corporate officer to sign the contract. The only other comment I'll make just while we're here is this project is expected to disrupt access to Hobo Hollow while it's occurring. We're one of the reasons why we kind of rushed this to come to council tonight is we're anxious to get going so that we can hopefully have the project completed before the ferry potentially gets taken out. There will be until we talk to the contractor and understand the schedule better, we don't know exactly what it looks like, but we do expect some disruption, particularly to vehicular traffic down to Hobo Hollow. A pedestrian walkway will be maintained through the construction site for the duration of the project, but there will be a period when there will be no vehicle access through. So we'll bring back more information about that. We will be communicating this over and over as soon as we have any details, but just wanted to make that point as one of the reasons why we're sort of trying to move forward quickly on this.
Okay, so there is a recommended motion here. Somewhere. You got it? Okay. Yes, I have it, but I just don't have it at my fingertips. Council approve the CAO to negotiate with Rock Solid Industries this contract and have it signed. And that council authorize the funds to come from the federal provincial sewer grant. So that's an important piece. So can I have someone move this recommended motion? Councillor,
Go ahead.
hands are all going up. Lightfoot, seconder.
I'll second.
And any comments or questions?
I have a question.
Councillor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
CEO Marbricat, I'm wondering about the procurement process in terms of like setting this. Is that a standard thing? I've never heard of it before, where you take like the second lowest bid.
Mm-hmm. There's a number of different ways that you can kind of evaluate the pricing. Some of the systems kind of throw out the lowest and the highest. Some will like sort of start at the median and then say that's the preferred bid and move away from that with lower scoring. Some of the committee members who have evaluated these types of proposals over and over suggested this methodology as one that they had seen kind of used quite often in this industry. And so that's why we sort of went with that approach. There was a very large range in the pricing from the lowest to the highest, and there was kind of a bulk of them in the middle, if you know what I mean. So you could have done it a bunch of different ways. I think at the end, the results on the qualitative criteria were very consistent amongst all four of us when we were ranking the proposals. And so the Rock Solid came out sort of at the top on that piece of the process. And then nobody knew that because we hadn't looked at that yet. And then we went through and we did the pricing model. And then the points that they received through that kind of kept them at the top of the list.
Thank you for that information.
I just have a quick question. So do you have a communication plan? I just want to make sure that we're letting, our neighboring communities know, the TNRD know that this is happening.
Yes, and we have identified all of the obvious, and those communications are happening, like CN and Environment Canada with the research station, and I actually put in the report there. I'm going to ask our communications advisor to actually do out a plan to make sure we don't miss anybody, and then to also just to kind of expand where we're communicating it as much as possible, so that we can reach as far as possible with it.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Carried. Great. Okay, this brings us to the end of our meeting. So we don't have any items this week or this meeting to release from closed council, but we need a motion now to move into closed meeting. I said closed council.
So
I don't know
moved,
what I'm saying tonight. Thank you. Seconder? Lightfoot? All those in favor? Carried. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Sarah Burkett, to close the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. That concludes the public portion of the regular council meeting of March the 25th, 2025. We ask that the public and staff please remove yourselves from the meeting as we go into the closed session. Thank you for attending, and I hope everybody has a wonderful night. I'll invite council to take a short recess while we reset the meeting to closed. Thank you.